You know, boxing today, it seems like there's news breaking every single day. There's fights being announced almost every day, big fights at that. Boxing's in a good place. And sometimes, I don't know about you guys, but I find it a little bit difficult at times just to stay on top of everything between checking Twitter, checking boxing scene, going on BoxRec to see if there's anything announced. There's a lot to look for. There's a lot of platforms you need to go on. And if you look there on screen, you'll see today's sponsors, Boxing Showtimes. They've made an app that does it all for you. Look at that on screen. It shows you where you can get tickets. It gives you all the latest news. It gives you the tail of the tape. It gives you all the card details. It's going to give you details about Fury Usyk. It's going to give you details about Joshua Ngannou. It's also going to have a lot more little things thrown in there as well. The link is in the comment section. It's going to be pinned on this video and more besides soon enough. And not only that, in the comment section, there's also going to be a link, a G-Man promo, which means you can access a little bit more without ads. Now that, to quote Eddie Hearn, is a game changer. Now let's crack on with the video. Alright, Teofimo Lopez wins a 12-round unanimous decision over Jermaine Ortiz. Two scorecards of 115, 113, and a bizarre, really bizarre scorecard of 117, 111. This is the second time Bob Arum has done a card on a Thursday night, and it's been absolutely just stinker. You know, this was more competitive than the Shakur Stevenson fight that happened a couple of months ago, but again, fans weren't happy. Ortiz, it seems to me to be quite apparent now that Lopez struggles with people who are movers. Now, some would say Ortiz didn't deserve to win because they would look at what he did as kind of running around the ring, you know, and I kind of get where they're coming from with that. But personally, I watched it this morning and I was favouring more what Ortiz was doing in there, I'm not going to lie. It just seemed to me as though whenever there was exchange or anything like that, or anytime there was ever a chance when he could counter Teofimo Lopez, he did it, and he did it effectively. And at the end of the day, some would say, oh, well, Teofimo Lopez was the aggressor in there. It's like, yeah, he was, but at the end of the day, it's called effective aggression. It's all well and good to be aggressive, but you got to do something with it. You know, if you're just being aggressive and you're doing literally nothing with it, you're not hitting them, and you might go in with the intention of landing a 3-4 punch combination, you miss them all, and you might even just take a little jab in retaliation. Who's come out the better of that exchange? You know, and I felt that by the end of the fight, it was close, right? It was close, but realistically, who won the fight? I think Ortiz deserved it, personally. I could see how they could have it close, like a draw could be fair enough, but 117, 111, you know, this is the thing, right, isn't it? That you have these fights where, you know, you could see a close scorecard either way. You could potentially, although I wouldn't have done it myself, but you could potentially see a 115, 113 to Lopez. A draw would be more favourable to Lopez, to be honest with you, because I felt that Ortiz did nick this. But then you see a scorecard like that and you're like, what the actual is going on? Like, what exactly is that judge watching? What are they seeing that's so different? Because they have such a difference between his scorecard and the other two. The other two judges had it close to Lopez. He had it wide. How? And the consensus is that Lopez shouldn't have even got the decision in general. Well, how the hell do you have a scorecard so wide? And again, you see this not just on Bob Arum shows, you see it on Warren shows, you see it on Hearn shows, you now see it on Boxercise Ben, you see it on Boxer Ben Shalom shows now. You can see where I got the two mixed up there, Boxer and Ben. But you see it on all those shows, Al Heyman, Golden Boy, etc, etc, etc. And this is happening on camera. God only knows what's happening on grassroots level when you think about like the small halls in the UK, what must be going on. How many of those journeymen say, like, you know, oh, well, I've lost X amount of fights, but I've really lost. You could probably knock about 20 off that and say, I won those, just didn't get the nod. It's crazy. Lopez definitely didn't cover himself in glory in that fight, and for me, it just seems pretty obvious now that if someone does like a Sandor Martin or Ortiz and just moves on the back foot, you gotta have some success with him. If you're gonna go and look to fight him at mid and close range and take the fight to him, that's when you're going to have problems, because that's when Lopez is happy. But if he's having to chase you around the ring, he just seems very ineffective with it. You know, I know against Kambosos he was really poor. Now, he was a lot more willing to go and, you know, trade. He was looking for it more against Kambosos, but still very ineffective. And you can kind of see what he's doing. A very different fight to the Josh Taylor. Very different. So, Lopez is lucky. He's lucky to come through that. I was going to say keeping his own, but he's already lost. But he was lucky to keep his title, to be 100% honest. In terms of what the 140-pound division is looking like now, well, we seem to have a world title fight coming up. It doesn't seem like we're going to get Ben versus Devin Haney. Ryan Garcia versus Devin Haney is now reportedly a done deal. Las Vegas, April the 20th. That's according to Mike Coppinger. So, Lopez, he's going to have a look at this. Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia. I see that as a fairly run-of-the-mill fight for Devin Haney. I think he'll win that fight on points. Ryan Garcia, it's a real case now of, well, crap. This is all I have. That's really what it is, because he talked about Devin Haney, and then it was like, oh, but you only did so many paper, and I don't like. He's got a title, mate, for God's sakes. But he's like, you only did so many pay-per-view buys. I'm going to go and fight Rolly, who is the easiest champion in boxing. And then obviously Pitbull gets that fight, so now you've Ryan Garcia like, crap. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? I need a big money fight. I need this. I need that. Let's do it. Let's do it. I don't see how Ryan's going to win that fight, to be honest with you. I know he's talented. I know he's fast. He can punch. He's definitely the harder puncher of the two. But I just don't see how he wins. I think Devin Haney's going to keep him on the end of a jab. He's just going to basically just keep him on the end of a jab all night. Maybe throw a few right hands in there and probably win a wide points decision. It's probably going to be the highest, not necessarily in terms of, you know, what's on the line. You could say that's probably the Kambosos-Lomachenko fight, but in terms of getting eyes on Devin Haney, you know, Ryan Garcia says he's a star and Haney isn't. Well, if Haney beats Ryan Garcia, and let's say he does it in good fashion, certainly he'll get some of those fans. So that's what's happening in the 140-pound division at the minute. Teofimo Lopez, it's going to be interesting to see who he goes and fights next. I'd love to see him fight Subriel Mateus, who I believe is going to be fighting Liam Paro on a DAZN show in the next few months. That's a really good fight. And again, you know, credit to Liam Paro. I mean, a lot of guys look at Mateus and are like, even if they're mandatory, they're like, crap, I got to fight this guy. Let's see. Mateus has a habit of making his opponents quit. Let's see what happens. A fight I would still love to see is Mateus versus Lopez. There was talk about that fight. Maybe it can still happen. I don't know. Apparently he's not with PBC anymore. If he's with Eddie Hearn, if he goes with him, if he goes with Eddie Hearn, there's fights there with the likes of Devin Haney and people like that. Could you imagine Subriel Mateus at 147 against Conor Benn? Oh boy, that could get real ugly for Conor Benn. That fight would make no logical sense anyway. But that's my thoughts on that. Let me know yours in the comments below, lads and lassies. I hope you enjoyed it. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, as always, if you haven't already. For now, I will leave you with that. Peace.